Hello, this is your trusty host, Mikhail speaking. Some of you may have noticed already, but we here at the Dork-Bajir Chronicles have started a Patreon page over at patreon.com/Dork-Bajir. Here's how it works. When you pledge a certain amount of money per month, you get rewarded with all kinds of goodies from us, the hosts of the show. This extra stuff can't be found anywhere else on the web and is exclusive to patrons who donate through the Patreon page. Some of these bonuses include things like an invitation to our patron-only Discord server, monthly essays written by one of the hosts of the Dork-Bajir Chronicles that delves into one aspect of the Animorphs series that they find interesting, show notes from every main episode of our show, shoutouts on every episode, the chance to be a guest on either the Dork-Bajir Chronicles or Live from the Gardens. So, if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, you can get access to it for as little as $3 a month. Just head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Dork-Bajir. That's patreon.com/DORK-BAJIR. Welcome to Live from the Gardens, a Animorph podcast about animals and how to be a convincing Animorph. This week we'll be talking about the rats, or like just in general, and killer whales, also known as orcas, which are two of the many morphs we saw in Animorphs number 22, The Solution, which is the book we talked about last week on the Dork-Bajir Chronicles. My name is Mikhail.
I'm Tessa the Expert.
And I'm Braden, the controversial opinion.
Yeah, I can see that.
In like all aspects of your life.
Before we jump into the trivia, I just want to give a shout out to the user at Keglob on Twitter, who I asked about orcas just in general, what people knew about them, and a lot of people answered, so thank you for that. And I took a lot of your suggestions, and you'll see them pop up as questions later. But one thing that I couldn't really turn into a question, but was still super interesting, was they linked me to, it's called orcasound.net/listen. And you can basically listen to live feeds of like underwater labs. My understanding is labs where they're trying to capture like echolocation and calls of whales and fish and stuff like that. It's pretty neat. I had it on all day at work today, actually, and it was very soothing. So thank you for that.
Real talk for a second. When you asked for info on orcas, how many answers were just the same video of an orca just killing a trainer at like SeaWorld or whatever?
You know, only one person mentioned the SeaWorld like incidents, but really? The truth is they do have a pretty bad reputation for being nasty in captivity, which is kind of fair, because when you look how big they are and like how smart they are, I probably would also be pretty nasty in captivity, I think. Let's jump into the rat. So the first question is for Braden. What evolutionary defense mechanisms, it's a single one, do rats have when they are grabbed by the tail and caused pain? So like by a predator, presumably.
Rats, when they get bit on the tail, actually turn into iron. The superhero Colossus in X-Men?
Uh-huh.
Or in Deadpool.
Yeah. I guess that works. Ugh. Unfortunately.
Wait, you didn't like Deadpool?
I haven't actually seen Deadpool yet. I just think...
Oh.
Wait, you haven't seen the first Deadpool?
No, I've seen Deadpool. I haven't seen Deadpool.
That's what I
2
mean.
yet.
He's in Deadpool.
Yeah, but like, who talks about Deadpool anymore?
Anyways.
I guess that's true.
Anyway, when a rat is bit on the tail, it immediately begins shit-talking Marvel movies. And it just, like, it makes it so that the person biting their tail has no choice but to just let go and just, actually...
Okay.
Civil War made perfect sense if you look at it within the context of the entire Marvel mythos.
Wait, so we kind of touched on this last week, but what is it that you think happened in the book as a defense mechanism?
Rachel bit off her own tail.
She bit off her own tail, like extremely fast.
That's not a defense mechanism, though. That's just like a self-amputation.
No, I think it's a thing that all rats do.
There are creatures that, like the old coyotes will chew off their own legs. I'd say that's a defense mechanism.
Not just like for fun, though. They'll do it because they're caught in traps.
It doesn't matter because you're all wrong, and even the book was totally wrong. So what happens is that the outer layers of skin on the rat will do something called degloving.
Oh God, no!
The entire layer of skin comes off, and it leaves behind this little pink, like, fleshy tail of the underneath skin, and the predator is left holding this kind of, like, tube of skin.
Oh God! Yeah. All I know of degloving, I know from those, like, safety warnings when operating heavy machinery, because that will happen to your fingers.
Does it hurt?
It probably does hurt the rat, especially because it exposes them later to infection and stuff, because the skin underneath is not as tough.
Well, I mean, rats live in infection. Rats are pretty much the largest bacteria on Earth. Let's be real. What's it gonna do? Oh no, I have syphilis on my tail. I have 8 types of syphilis in my stuck between my teeth.
You shouldn't hate on rats so much. I mean, I guess now that I've done my research, it's like I have reason to not hate them, but...
Rats are cute and they're adorable.
I'm not hating on them. I'm saying they're just...
You said there was syphilis on their tails. So that's also not true, but we'll talk about that later.
I have syphilis on my tail. Don't be so judgmental.
You have 8 types of syphilis in your teeth, Brayden, as a human, as your human self.
Tessa, why do rats make good pets?
Because they got cute little feet. There's this picture that Mikhail has sent to both of us of a rat being tickled, and its back feet are doing that thing like when cats stretch and their toes get all wide. Yeah. And they got those little toes all spread. Oh, and because of their hands, they can actually be taught to do little household chores. You can hand a rat a paintbrush, and it will dust for you.
With a paintbrush?
Yeah. Well, because his hands aren't big enough for a regular dust broom.
Okay. So the real answer is, yes, of course they make good pets, but the reason is because they're actually they have a lot of the same traits that dogs have, which is like they're loyal, they're affectionate, and they're incredibly easy to train to do stuff. But because of that, they've also been like more and more adopted as therapy animals for people. So like, you know how you get a dog to like, or like an autistic kid gets a dog because the dog will like react to them freaking out and they won't shy away from the dog like they would from a human.
Well, yeah, because the dog will help calm a person down. I've literally just been watching videos about like dogs being trained. They do something called pressure therapy where they can lie on you. Some dogs are trained for that. And I assume rats would be trained for that too, where they can just like snuggle up in your neck and like sit there.
They totally can. And they like it as well. And they're super clean animals. Despite their reputation, the reason why their reputation is for that is because they can carry disease, but just in the same way like a stray dog can carry disease. The problem is rats are everywhere. So law of averages, it's more likely a rat that infected this whatever than a stray dog.
Or, like we know from the last Live from the Gardens, the flea on the rat.
Yeah, and actually a lot of people, there's some theories that the rats had no direct, like they didn't cause the bubonic plague at all. It was the rat flea that did that.
Yep.
Anyways, who's next? Brayden.
Yeah, give it to me.
Why are rats so commonly used as laboratory test subjects?
They love that shit. You know how some chicks just like just love it when you just take a needle and just shove it in them and just say like, yeah, that's full of fucking abortion juice. And just get so hard for it. Just get such hard clits for it. Like, have you ever had one of those freaks?
You put them in a maze, and then they're like, oh, that fucking sick cheese at the end. And like, you can make it. Oh, baby, you can make it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then they go nuts for that shit. The real answer is that rats obviously have some similarities to humans in that they're mammals, but unlike other mammals, they have an almost not one-to-one size-wise, but one-to-one, like, systems-wise. Their heart structure, so like their cardiovascular system, is incredibly similar to humans, which is really important when you're testing stuff, because if the blood is pumping differently, then you can't really say that it'll work on humans, right?
Yeah,
because there's a lot of factors there that don't apply to humans. So why not pick the thing that's the closest? Like, you've ever heard like pigs have very analogous organ structure and like tissue structure
and like meat taste?
Yeah, I've heard pigs talk about that.
Yeah, or like how on Mythbusters they always used a pig instead of a human corpse to like test out bullets on and shit. Remember that? That was wild. Anyways,
you remember that? You remember Mythbusters? Shit was wild.
What is a knockout rat?
It's a rat who's probably in her mid to late 20s, and she's just had a glow up girl. Oof.
Okay.
She looking good.
That's much better than my thing. I was definitely going to make a choking joke.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So this is going to venture into a realm that I'm sure I'm not equipped to talk about properly, but a knockout rat is a rat that has actually been like genetically engineered. So it's been given a mutation that makes it miss a gene. So it doesn't have one gene.
Oh, wow.
Which means, and we can study what genes do as a result, right?
That's so weird.
Yeah, like if you have I don't know what a good example is. You have a really complicated dish of food, and then you make the dish 500 times and take out one ingredient each time. You can see what each ingredient is adding to the dish, right? Same idea here. So they've found rats that like have Parkinson's disease and stuff because of a missing gene. So because that missing that gene gave them a very specific disease, we could then study that rat and easily reproduce it to do multiple studies on, so that we could try to cure that disease in humans. So kind of a cool thing. They have it with mice as well, knockout mice. But it was a big deal in like, I want to say 2008, but pretty recently, like not that long ago when they figured it out.
That's there's a statue in I forget where it is, but there's a statue of a little rat with little grandma glasses, and she's knitting the DNA spiral, and it's in memory of all of the rats that we've used,
knocked out,
and like kind of tortured in order to make medicine work.
Seems a little redundant. I mean, we already have Secret of Nim 1 and 2. Why did we ever make more art after that?
Brayden, the statue was done in between Secret of Nim 1 and 2. If you'd let me finish, then I would have told you that statue was actually kind of cross-promotional to help bring Secret of Nim into another continent.
Brayden, what kind of rat is a Bordeaux-style rat?
I know exactly what you're saying. Bordeaux rats are the sexy rats. Like those ones that furries are drawing from, you know, because furries aren't just, you know, they get that from somewhere. It's not
I get what you're saying. It's a ratatouille female rat.
It's a rat
with like the chest fluff that makes it look like she has tits.
So a Bordeaux style rat is actually a way of cooking a rat.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
In France, in the Bordeaux region, a Bordeaux style rat, or I guess you could do it anywhere, it just comes from there. What they would often do is they would find rats that had gotten stuck or that lived in wine cellars and had become alcoholics.
Oh my god.
And then they would grill them with like shallots and garlic and butter. And that's a Bordeaux style rat. Well, obviously they would eviscerate it and, you know, take the skin off.
The French are freaks.
Organs. Well, apparently people eat rats like fucking everywhere in the entire world. This is like a pretty tame.
Rats and pigeons.
In Hawaii, they ate, I don't know if they still do, but they ate rats all the time.
I mean, it makes sense. It's a plentiful protein source that like fucking multiplies like crazy. It's super easy to rear because it's just a tiny little thing. You feed him a little bit of garbage and he's good.
Speaking of rears and multiplying, let's talk about rat sex quickly because it's over pretty quick.
Let's talk about rat sex.
Typically, the way it begins is the female will actually approach the male, and she'll, mammal stuff like sniff his junk and whatever. I kept seeing one term, though, that it seemed like a lot of papers and articles used, which is they will approach the male and then arch and quiver, which I thought was maybe the most disgusting combination of words. Yeah. Pretty gross.
I hate
I'm
that.
not happy with that.
Like, what is that? Her whole vagina just descends and arches and quivers at him.
I don't know.
It like detaches itself. Oh god.
I didn't watch videos for this one. I saw a few pictures and I was like, I get it. And then they're mammals, right? So it's like pretty standard penis, P in the V kind of thing. One interesting thing about sex, though, is that the females can mate 500 times in 6 hours.
Whoa.
Nice.
Whoa.
That sounds like a weekend.
Well, oh.
So they have a receptivity period which is that 6 hours, where they'll just basically fuck like mad. So obviously in laboratory conditions, that doesn't happen. Like when they mate on purpose. They get put in with a male, so they don't go crazy. But when they're in the wild, they're like surrounded by males, they just go nuts.
So wait, Mikhail, to walk that back, you say they're when they get like that in captivity, the male gets put into their cage so that they can mate on purpose?
Yeah.
Oh, transition into...
Oh, God, I puked in my hand.
Because it's a water animal? That's a very loose transition.
Porpoise.
All right. That's fair. Let's jump into the orca, which is a pretty fucking cool animal. A lot of these questions actually came from people off our Twitter. When I asked them about it, people just came out of the woodwork and like inundated me with facts about orcas, which is
nice.
Awesome. So I picked out some of the bigger things, and I'm sorry if I don't shout out everyone appropriately, but you know who you are. You're good people. Okay, first question's for Tessa. Orcas are often called the blanks of the sea. What is that blank, and why do they get called that?
They're often called the soccer moms of the sea because they will just fucking kill you for no reason.
I don't know that soccer moms do that.
Nah, the real answer is they're called the pandas of the sea because they hate having sex.
So many threads to unpack there. But...
they only eat bamboo.
Okay.
Surprising fact. Orcas only eat bamboo.
Actually, they're called the moms of the sea because I've never met one.
Oh, Jesus.
That was so good.
They're called the wolves of the sea because they often are seen hunting in packs.
Oh, but they should be called the raptors of the sea. They do flock in herds.
Okay. Okay, we gotta hit the fucking second question. I didn't even move past that. So this one comes from at Twist the Spine and at Archivist on Twitter, which was Moths, who's been on the show before.
Woo, Moths.
Our favorite.
This is for Brayden. What is quote-unquote intentional stranding, and what does it have to do with orcas?
Hint, it's spermala.
Okay.
Okay, this one time I had a dog, and its name was Calico.
Mm-hmm.
And Calico got really sick. And my dad told me we had to put Calico down. So I took Calico out for a walk.
Oh, God. This is going to be really sad.
I left them in the woods. And I left him there. And I knew Calico... And I just left them in the woods, and they were fine. And I assume they live on a farm now and became immortal and gained the ability to fly. And so that's intentional. I don't know why you asked about that in relation to orcas. Do orcas have pets that they strand?
Yeah, orcas have pets with baby dolphins. And what they do is they take the baby dolphin away to a special cave where it learns how to be an orca. And that's why sometimes some orcas look sad.
Okay. The real answer, and this is probably the coolest thing about orcas, one of the coolest things I think is you can see videos of it, of like little clips of them catching this happening, but basically it's like there's seals or some prey animal on the beach, and the orca will swim super fast towards the beach and actually beach itself. Like it'll be totally flat stomach to sand in an attempt to surprise the seal and catch it while it's on the beach. And then once it catches or fails to catch, it'll then turn its head and wiggle back into the water, kind of hilariously, honestly.
Which is crazy because like whales can't do that, right? Like they have too much mass that being on land kind of slowly crushes them. But orcas are just so strong and beautiful and powerful and muscular.
I mean, it would also kill them if they got stuck on land.
If they got completely stuck, yeah.
Yeah. But they don't go all the way up. They just kind of go halfway. And it's usually during high tide.
Beached whales are so fucked, right?
Pretty gross.
It's okay, because in Live from the Gardens for book 27, we got to talk about beached whales.
Sick. One other thing to note about intentional stranding is that it's actually not instinctual or inbred into orcas to do this. Just like a lot of things that they do, they get taught how to do it by their family.
Aw, cute.
It's pretty cute, although what's not cute is watching babies who try to do it get stuck up on the sand, the tide goes out, and they super die because they beach themselves.
And then they fucking explode.
Then they turn into a firework and shoot up into heaven.
Yeah, we can talk about that in the beach whale
We'll talk
episode.
about that in the beach whale episode.
Okay, Tessa, this one's for you. What is the relationship between great white sharks and orcas?
It's kind of strained ever since the high school reunion, to be honest. But, for the most part, it's like cordial on Facebook. Well, they'll do the nods in the grocery store lineup. But there's not a whole lot of board game nights happening between those two groups, which is kind of sad because they were roommates in college.
Yeah, but then remember that one night when they like fucked and it was like super awkward after that?
It was so awkward. And like the great white sharks didn't call the orcas, and the orcas cried so much and then got really into goth. So that's why they covered themselves in the black body paint.
The great white sharks got really into like the white supremacy groups, and because the orcas were like biracial, black and white, they couldn't deal with it.
Oh, Mikhail, I had a good thing going and you ruined it with your false facts.
Fake. Sad. I can't do a good Trump. I haven't met anyone yet who can do a good Trump.
Dad. Here's the thing about doing a good Trump. Actually, the worse you do it, the better.
Drain the swamp. I don't know. Something like that.
And that's true for like both the accent and actual the sex.
I'm sorry for ruining your bit, Tessa.
Put the whole thing on my wet lips.
I would have sex with my daughter.
I do have sex with my daughter.
Okay. So even last year in 2017, they were finding cases of orcas who had, or in theory anyways, because there's no video or like eyewitness event or evidence of this, but the idea is the orca like slams into the great white shark, flips it on its back, and then grabs it right underneath the gills where the skin is softer, and then rips the liver out and eats it and leaves the great white shark to die.
Oh my god!
Yeah. And they found a bunch of them, not like tons and tons, but like several great white sharks washed up on shore with like just their liver ripped out, and some of them had their stomach ripped out, and some of them had their scrotums ripped out.
Sharks have scrotums?
Oh, baby. They do, I think. I'm guessing, because the article said that they got their scrotums ripped out. So, Britain's a shark. He would know.
I have never looked down.
That's fair. If you look down too much, then you fall into a trance. That's what happens to sharks.
And also that snake from Robin Hood. Remember how he could do that? That was wild.
Yeah, that was wild.
And thank you to @HelloPuns for that info about the great white sharks. I did not know about that.
But why do they think it's orcas? Like, maybe it's just a bunch of people who, instead of finning the sharks, just rip out their livers.
It's because, A, people versus great white sharks has never really gone very well. B, because great white sharks are apex predators, so they don't have a predator. And so the only thing that was big enough and in that same region, it was orcas.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. But, like, I'm just saying, It could be aliens.
You should take it up with @HelloPuns. And also, like, hundreds of articles that I found about this being about orcas.
Oh, only hundreds. There's thousands about aliens.
Okay. True.
They're all written by me, but that's beside the point.
Okay, Brayden, what is the similarity between female humans, female orcas, and female short-finned pilot whales?
Well, I mean, I assume you know what the difference is between a red elephant, a blue elephant, and a gray elephant, right?
Oh, the way that, like, one of them has human-level intelligence, but we can't understand their language yet?
No. It's like how you kill them. Like, they call a red elephant because you kill it with a red elephant gun, a blue elephant because you kill it with a blue elephant gun, gray with the gray gun, I assume. But, like, you know how to kill a white elephant, right?
A white gun?
No, what? There's no such thing as a white gun. There's no such thing as a white elephant gun. So what you gotta do is you have to get a cherry cheesecake, and it's got to have 3 cherries on top.
Oh my god.
And you know what? This is actually a very long joke, so...
Basically, you make the elephant turn red, and then you shoot it with the red elephant gun.
Yeah, you get the elephant red by making it very angry that its cherry cheesecake is missing.
So it's like an anti-joke where no one's supposed to laugh.
No, it's a joke in the sense that it took so long to get to the answer that you're just laughing with relief. Anyway, the actual similarity is that human males have had sex with all 3 of these.
Ooh, a secret hidden answer to this question. Although, we'll get to the sex part. That's probably not a good idea. The real answer is, and this comes from @Kaglob, who also gave us the fun underwater listening homework from earlier. Female humans, orcas, and short-finned pilot whales are the only animals that we kind of have observed and noticed that go through a menopause.
Oh.
The reason why that's important is because most animals exist only to reproduce, right?
Yeah.
But human women, anyways, cannot reproduce after, like, their 50s just because of their biological clock, right? So there's been a lot of theorizing as to, like, and this is going to sound sexist, but it's not. Why do women live past their reproductive age? And the answer...
It's because Orca God had us be friends with the orcas, who are also in menopause.
I also want to hear what Brayden's answer to that question is, because I can feel him stewing over some nasty shit.
Why do they live past breeding?
Because men can produce sperm up until they die.
Oh, yeah, that's why Andrew Jackson has 2 living grandsons.
And that's why I have 2 uncles that are, like, infants. No, that's not true.
Gross!
Yeah. I do have an uncle who's younger than me, then. Shout out to that guy. You know who you are.
When it comes to reproduction and evolution, the joke is on us.
Okay.
The reason anybody continues to live when they can't breed is because evolution is a cruel god, and it wants us to look at the virile, the young, the powerful, and it wants us to quake, and it wants us to feel fear and powerlessness, but mostly it wants those young to know, breed before you become one of them.
This is like a forward to, like, a weird body horror movie or something like that.
Yeah, I was not into it.
And now my student film, ravaged by their tentacles.
Excellent. The real reason is, or at least the real theory is, because we don't know the reason, but women stick around because women have a lot to teach us. And, like,
oh, Mikhail, you sap.
Well, men are there too, but let's get real. We're just ready to fuck at all times. Nothing to teach, except for technique, if you know what I mean.
You disgust me.
Good. I got nothing to learn. The idea being that women often take a bigger role in raising young. So even though you don't have any reproductive abilities, you still have a communal, like a social responsibility to look after the young, which in turn helps the species last longer, like by making each individual more likely to not die, right? Because if you have a grandma teaching you how to weave while your mom's picking food or something like that, I'm talking about cavemen here or whatever. Like,
I know what I was going to say.
Yeah, yeah. There's a better chance that you'll survive and that your tribe will survive. Same thing is true for orcas in theory. The orca females, which is, by the way, a matrilineal structure.
Their matrilineal structure. The mama's in charge.
All the children take the mom's last name instead of the dad's last. No, that's not how it works. But ultimately, like, the women will. I read a few times that women, like the mothers, will look after their sons very closely for years, whereas they'll let the daughters kind of like learn from everyone, type of thing. Anyways, it's interesting, and anyone who wants to look up like social structures of orcas, I highly recommend it because there's a lot of stuff.
It's complex. They're very intelligent creatures, so they have really complex social structures, and it's really cool.
Totally. Speaking of super sad stuff and not uplifting stuff, Tessa, which famous orca recently died? And this was inspired by our friend Movie Pools over on Twitter.
It's sad because like he just died this morning, but at like 9:05 a.m.
Right?
William Wilbur passed away. He was free for 90 years.
He called me and he wanted to know, like, I just need to know, like, do Albertosaurus exist? And I said yes. And he's like, I can die happy. And I'm like, wait, who is this? And he quickly explained his identity so I could tell this story, and then passed.
9:06, I looked up into the sky and I saw this huge orca whale with 3 dots under his chin, like in the clouds. Like the clouds formed this image, and he was leaping over a small boy who stood there with his fist raised in triumph.
And it was Thanos. Bringing it back.
That
All
small
right.
boy was Thanos.
The real answer is actually a whale that we've talked about before, which I'm probably going to pronounce wrong, but it's the one that was at SeaWorld. Tilikum?
Tilikum. As far as I know, I think that's right.
I know, Brayden loves that name.
Because it's a good name for immature people.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a good way to work it into a sentence right now.
I want to pet whales till it come.
In January of last year, it died of a lung infection, but it did live a lot longer than orcas typically live in captivity. I think it was born in like the 80s, so it actually lived a super long time. 1981 it was born.
He was almost 40 years old.
That's dope shit.
The reason why this is such a famous orca, though, is because, and this is the line from Wikipedia, as of 2013, 4 humans have died due to interactions with orcas. Tilikum was involved in 3, leading to the human deaths. Do you remember also how, like, that one guy who just got out of prison, they found him, like, naked, trying to ride the whale, and then they found him dead?
Yeah, like, wasn't his butthole, like, pushed out of him from water, or it was, like, pushed way into him? Like, they thought that he landed in the water with such force that it, like, destroyed his butthole, which is part of what killed him.
I might have been wrong about the jail part, but the part about the prolapsed asshole leaving a prolapse longer than the entire length of his body, I'm pretty sure that's true. I
think that's true, yeah, because I think it came out a little bit, and then my theory is that one of the whales was like,
shut up.
Ooh,
Everyone
fun
just
toy.
Shut up. I don't want to.
Oh, Jesus.
Let's share.
I don't want to.
I want to play with you till I come.
Oh, there you go.
That's what that drug guy said. He looked at Tilikum and was like, hey, I want to play with you till I come.
Well, apparently I was wrong.
Cool. This is the last episode, and I'm going to die. I'm going to die.
There were no
this.
drugs or alcohol.
I have to die.
No drugs or alcohol involved.
This.
God, he just got high on orcas.
Now that we've covered the essential 5 questions that anyone needs to know about orcas ever, let's talk about mating, which we have actually kind of talked about already because orcas are actually giant dolphins.
Don't they just like shoot their load in the water and that's why the ocean is salty?
No, you made that same joke on the dolphin episode, actually. It didn't really play well that time either.
Nothing but consistency from me.
Gross.
I don't know what to say here, guys. I'm still hung up on that prolapse bit.
So they prolapse their assholes and then they take it in each other's mouths and swing each other around like lassos until the prolapse comes completely out and their skin like implodes.
It like no, they deglove the prolapse. It's kind of like what rats do with their tails.
Sick. Deglove the prolapse.
What?
That's gonna be my like manifesto for like
I blacked out.
Deglove
the prolapse. Take down the patriarchy.
I blacked out there for a second, and I just saw myself just like there are these 2 figures with like black bags over their heads, and I just beat their faces in with the butt of a rifle, and then when I took the bags off, it was so bruised and terrible, but it was me.
And they both had prolapse.
Asshole.
So the only really interesting thing, like if you want to learn how it works, go visit the dolphin one because there's a lot of almost entirely similar, honestly. Like it's the peen and the V.
Dolphins.
Underwater, fast, whatever. One thing that I think a lot of people get wrong is that they think that orcas are like husband and wife for life. Not true. They take many partners in a mating season.
I mean, like they could be husband and wife, but they're not monogamous husband and wife. You know what I'm saying?
Do you all have anything to add for the orca episode before we jump into the hypothetical question?
I just like them. They're big boys and they're good for the ocean and they look cute and they're so powerful. Hot damn. They kill. They're killing machines. I have heard that whole wolves of the sea before just because of how good they are at killing and how they hunt in packs, as we discussed last week at Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
So speaking of killing each other, let us jump in to hypothetical question of the week. How many rats would it take to kill one orca, and how would the rats do it? Now, here are the caveats. Rats can swim, right? So the rats can get in the water and not instantly die, so that's out of the question. Each animal, the only thing they want to do is kill the other animal. So the orca just wants to kill as many rats as possible. The rats just want to kill that one orca. They're in, let's say, an unpopulated ocean, right? And there's shore nearby because orcas actually do live largely by shores, so that's not surprising.
And so they can do that whole beaching thing.
Yeah, and that's where most animals live. Like, not a lot of animals actually live in open ocean.
Right in the middle of the ocean. No, it's pretty empty.
Yeah. So, who wants to go first? I can go first so you guys don't just, like, shout me out for always being confrontational about this one.
Do it up.
I think it would take, like... It's hard to pick an actual number, right? Obviously. But I don't think it would take as many as people think it would.
Really? Because I was in the realm of like a couple thousand for sure.
I'm thinking a couple hundred.
Oh, damn.
Because like rats, have you guys ever seen that torture where like they put a bucket on your chest with the open end on your chest and there's a rat in the bucket and then they light a torch and hold it against the bucket and the rat actually chews through your like collarbone and stuff into your heart.
They had that on Game of Thrones. It was against the guy's stomach and they had it in the pail.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Heated up the pail. That's
totally a real thing.
It was in the second it was also in the second Fast and the
in the
Furious
second
movie.
Ratatouille movie.
Yeah.
And in an episode of Bone.
Anyways, so the rats would form like this raft of like living mass.
Yeah.
And the orca would come up to like bite them because that's like basically its only tactic. And what would happen is, it might kill like a giant handful of them with every like
huge, massive, beautiful bite. The
rats would latch on with every lunge, right? And eventually, they would kill themselves to kill this orca. So they would drown. Do you know what I mean? So meanwhile, this orca is taking massive wound after wound after wound, because every time it goes up, it's getting dozens and dozens of rats like furiously chewing through
I'm
its
just
body.
like, I'm picturing this as you're saying it, and oh my god, I want to see a short film where rats and orcas kill each other now.
Well, you're in luck because Braden is a short film producer.
Oh, Brayden.
Anyway, I think the rats would only need... I'm going to lowball it, and I'm going to go with 5. Because,
5?
Rats are clever. Rats are quick.
Jump over the candlestick.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
As long as we're fine with these rats killing themselves to get this whale, there's a weak point to a whale. It's the blowhole. Just get one rat in there, it's choking to death. It starts blowing, get a second rat in there. It's choking.
Put a rat on it.
Are you unimpressed with your insurance? Put a rat on it.
Put a rat on it.
Okay, Tessa, what's your theory?
I'm liking this idea that it wouldn't take very many. I like the whole idea of them forming a raft, just like, and pouring, and like the killer whale comes up from the depths and it's like muscular and powerful and takes a bite out of it and kind of breaches to slam on there. But oh wait, the rats that it bit are scrabbling and scratching and biting at its tongue and its mouth and going down its throat. And now it's stuck in its beach, and there's more rats pouring into its body and crawling on top of it and eating its blowhole. And it's just...
Oh no, so the blowhole is prolapsing?
Its blowhole is prolapsing out the top.
Classic prolapse reference.
And there's like one rat in the prolapsed blowhole just like wriggling around, and it's flopping all over this whale's back. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I think, it would be like, you have infinite rats. For sure the rats would win.
I mean, infinite rats, definitely.
It would stop before they got to be infinite.
That's deep. This is exhausting, actually.
I like this picture of violence that I'm daydreaming about now, and I don't know what that says about me as a person.
Oh god, it's not drool.
Yeah.
I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding.
Next week, we'll be talking about Animorphs number 23, which I forget the name. What is the name of that one, Tessa?
The Pretender. It's Tobias morphing into a little bunny rabbit.
Oh, yeah, this is, so they sing that Foo Fighters song, The Pretender, like 500 times.
The Pretender, everyone, every sound, remember. That's the song you're talking about, right?
That's not the song I'm talking about at all. It's what if I said I'm not like the other? No.
What if I said I'm not like another one?
Anyways, Tessa, where can you find more of our stuff?
Our stuff is all on our podcast page at collectivelegacy.org. We've also got Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and Facebook.
Where can people subscribe? No, I couldn't really do it. Subscribe.
People send subscribe to Scus on SkyTunes and Collective Legacy Sklorg. And also, if everybody could send me a couple Band-Aids so I can put them on my tongue so I'm not bleeding out my mouth anymore.
And also, send Braden your prolapse pics. For the Phantomorphs, I've been Michaela, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
I'm Braden, and I'm feeling so attacked right now.
And this has been Live from the Gardens, a Phantomorph podcast about how to be a convincing Animorph. Remember how I said there would be shoutouts for patrons at our Patreon page? Well, there are already a few, and they are just swell as all hell. We'd like to offer a giant thank you to patrons Spencer and A Heap of Games for their contribution this month. Remember, if you want to make all your friends jealous and have your name read out on a podcast, head on over to patreon.com/Dork-Bajir. That's patreon.com/DORKBAJIR. And thanks again to all our patrons. Are you tired of sitting in silence, staring at walls?
Do your ears yearn for something more than the sound of your life passing you by?
Try Inadmissible, a podcast designed by a leading team of experts in the field of excitementology and non-boringness.
On Inadmissible, you'll hear Quinn and Mikhail, two of our bleeding-edge analysts, break down and rebuild the worst ads you've ever had the misfortune to experience.
Listen in as they tear apart lackluster emotional tactics.
Gather round as they explain why you shouldn't make your product look like a steaming pile of garbage.
Poop jokes.
All this and more on Inadmissible, a podcast about terrible advertising. For more details, visit collectivelegacy.org.
Inadmissible should not be consumed if you are easily offended or your tolerance for immaturity is lower than that of a 6-year-old child. Inadmissible may cause fits of laughter so intense your lungs may suffer from burst blood vessels. Consult your doctor before listening to Inadmissible.
Inadmissible, a podcast about terrible ads. Brought to you by
Collective Legacy,
a podcast network.